Hello and good evening, everybody. How exciting to see you again. I haven't seen you for such a long time. This has been such a massive gap, hasn't it? As you probably know, I am a digital nomad, and tonight I am coming you from the front room of my good friend Robin and Ollie's Doer Upper home. We're working on that one. I'm going to be getting a new office somewhere else. So lovely to see you all again. It's been a long time, hasn't it? So if you've just arrived here, you're wondering what's going on, welcome to another Photography Lockdown live feedback. So Photography Lockdown is a series of twice monthly now tutorials and creative challenges to help you really nail and lock down your creativity, because that's the most important thing in all of photography. If you'd like to find out more and maybe come and join us, click the little thing below this video. There's a link there, and when we've finished I will add one to pop up to my left. So it's so good to see you all from all over the world. Look at you all from Nashville in Tennessee, from Sydney in Australia. Wow, Julie, thank you. 4 a.m. Friday morning. That's really cool. You are just the most amazing bunch of people. Look at you all. San Diego, Maryland, Virginia. It's such a privilege doing this. You have no idea. You have no idea. And as I say, it's been a really long one this time, hasn't it? So let's have a look. I have got some notes on my other laptop down here, and I am going to have to refer to them so we don't mess it up. Hello, Annette Vaughan. Hello. I want to say hello to all of you, but I can't. I'm sorry. We'll be here all night. So what do we need to say? Yeah, right. Oh yes, first of all, of course, the important thing. Thank you to all of you lovely people who've made a commitment to make a small regular monthly donation to keep PLD up and running. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but we are definitely on the right track. We're going in the right direction to be able to help it pay its costs and pay its way, which, you know, we don't want to pull the plug on this, do we? I am really excited and grateful for you guys, for your support. I also want to just say we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Tim Nicholson, David Cunningham and Danny Drummond, and one or two others, of course. But you guys are my community champions because you've made some significant donations this month to really help and keep it going. And I so appreciate that. Thank you. If you are someone who thought, oh yeah, I must get around to doing that, there is a link below. I would please request that you do it, if of course you can. Maybe do it next month if you can't. But anyway, so good to be back and so good to see you. So I want to have a little talk to you about a couple of things before we get straight into the feedback session. You're all still saying hello from all over the world. You're just delightful and splendid. You're getting a fuzzy, blurry mic, Evelyn. I don't know why. I am on the fastest connection I have ever broadcast from, ever. I got a 50 megabyte upload stream, so it should be good. What was I going to say? Before we go into the feedback session, and as usual it was very difficult for me to choose, I just want to talk to you for a moment about subjects and themes, because, you know, this is what is behind, of course, our creativity stuff. Forgive me if you can hear some dogs barking. As I say, I'm at Robin and Ollie's. They're very kindly letting me broadcast from here, and, you know, I'm an intruder in their home. Themes and subjects. There seems there's still a little bit of confusion over what to photograph. Now, the thing is, I don't give you a subject like tree for a very important reason. Not everybody wants to photograph a tree, which is why I give you a theme, if you like, a concept to photograph, because then you can use your creativity to... Robin, come here and say hello to everybody.
Oh, good God, I'm in my
Oh my good God, she said. I was in her shorts. I'm sorry, guys, I have to... This is Robin.
Hi!
Robin and her husband, Ollie. Hey, look, people will say hello to you. They will. They'll start saying hello.
But I'm going to run away and cook dinner. So
go
have
and
a
cook
great
dinner.
session.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for letting me your house. Robin did work experience with me when she was at college, at uni, many years ago. She has now got a master's degree in education management, and we may start working together again later in the future. It would be really cool. Anyway, sorry for that interruption. She had to come in and grab something. I'm going to go back. Creativity and themes. So I don't give you a specific thing, such as a tree, a mountain, a river, a lake, you know, an orange, your dinner, for a very specific reason, because there are so many different genres that people want to photograph. The reason I give you a concept is because it's really good for your creativity to concentrate and stretch that creativity by finding a way to link it to the theme or concept. So for example, reflections, what we've just been doing. If you're into sports, well, how about trying to capture the expression, the reflective expression on a footballer's face when they've just missed the crucial goal? Yeah? How about if you're into portraits? Well, that's all expression, isn't it? If you're a landscaper, well, you know, there's a wealth of reflection could be done there. It could be just reflective because of a misty, moody landscape. It could be reflections in a pool of water, lakes, mountains, sky and trees, you know, reflecting in a lake. There are so many ways you can interpret conceptual photography. That could be all about memories and things, couldn't it? Whatever you're into, think about that and not what the rules of the competition are. This is why I deliberately make it a little bit vague, because this is how you're going to grow your creativity. If I just say go and take a picture of a tree at f8, you just go and obey, but you've had no exercise in being creative. Does that make sense? Anyway, that is all I really had to say about that. So, you know, creativity is stretching your imagination until it hurts. You've got your camera controls. There's a handful of those you need to know how to work in order to be creative. But that's about it. They're all covered in my Ultimate Beginners course. I know many of you have done it, and it's absolutely awesome. If you're someone who's done the Ultimate Beginners course and you're still struggling with the camera, it's because you're not practicing enough. Don't just do the exercises in any of the courses once and think you've mastered it. No, you need to keep doing them and doing them and doing them over and over and over again, so you don't have to think about it. That's just kind of how this works. Anyway, what else? Focal length, all that good stuff. Focal length. Don't worry about the number of millimeters you're using. Just think, you know, what sort of focal length do I need? A longish one, a shortish one, a middle-ish one? And I'm using the word ish on purpose because the number of millimeters doesn't matter. What matters is when you're looking through the camera and you're changing the focal length and you're narrowing the field of view, you're bringing backgrounds in and all that good stuff. It's finding the one that works. It's not just zooming in and out and going, there's the shot. Learn to use the camera, then you can start being creative. But it begins with trying to think outside of the box in ways to interpret challenges and ideas. That's how you develop that photo radar, you know, beep, 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 picture, 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 picture. Because so many people send me messages saying, I'm good with the camera, I have real trouble finding the picture. This is how you begin to find it. And anyone can do it. It's just practice. It's just practice. Anyway, so I guess we ought to get on with the feedback, didn't we? Just say yes if you agree. Shut up, Browne, and get on and do the feedback. Let's see what we've got to show you. I need to just change my screen because I was getting so excited talking to you about creativity that I forgot to set up the shot in advance. So let's have a look at our first one, which is our friend Denise Savage. Please bear in mind, guys, as well, the feedback that I give, I try and choose images that will benefit the greatest number of people. There are many wonderful images that I would love to talk about that I'm not able to, because me sitting there going, this is a great image because, doesn't really help so many people who are struggling and thinking, why isn't this a great image and what do I need to do to make it work? By the way, is my audio a little bit loud? Because I'm getting weird results showing up on my screen. Just say. Denise, I really like this idea. If you look at those reflections in that windscreen, they are really, really interesting, aren't they? But I think the car itself is absolutely detracting from the interesting part. So I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty of having a little play around with your picture. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Thank you for telling me. And just having a look, what would it be like if we lost the car from the shot? And I think it's a little bit better. Maybe a longer lens got in closer. But the other thing I had a little play around with was, what does it look like if you turn it up the other way? I think you are absolutely onto a really good thing there, really good idea. But had you managed to get in just a little bit closer, I just think it would have nailed it just that little bit better. But a great attempt and well spotted, really well spotted, Denise. We had also, of course, got a very, very strong and powerful reflection going on here from George. Great shot. You've got great light for a reflection. George Goucher, forgive me, it's so hard knowing how to pronounce people's names. You've got a very, very strong reflection. You've done a very, very good job of lining it up. Now I'm interested to know what you guys think, because, forgive me, I'm looking at my other monitor because I need to find something. Do you think that the shot might look better if it was the other way up? I'd just be really interested to know what you think about that. Just pop a little comment in there. It'd be really interesting to know, to see what you think. There we go. I need to turn that off. Good, that's better. I can watch your comments on the other monitor now. It is a lovely shot. Anyway, again, I just kind of took the liberty of turning it the right way up again just to see how it looked. And it's nice, but you know what? You kind of are right, George. It does look better upside down, but there's something a little bit confusing about it. It's something a little bit hard to look at when it's upside down. So I had a little bit more of a play, and I don't know what you think, but I just thought it kind of looked a bit more interesting when I cropped out most of the real part and just left us with the reflection. There's this weird thing with the double boats going on down either side. Now we got this kind of shimmery, painterly thing going on down the shot, which I think is really, really interesting. That's probably caused by something's moved in the marina. Maybe there's a tiny, tiny breeze blowing. If you could have got this on a really, really still day when there wasn't a ripple. I don't know. What do you think, guys? What do you think about the, just coming in onto the houses like this and having those weird upside down, the mirrored boats on either side and just the houses? What do you think? And of course, there's no right or wrong. And this is one of the great things with creativity. It's like what you like is what gives you a buzz, not anybody else. I think the still water, this is all part of what goes on below the surface. If any of you have been on my How to Capture a Perfect Picture webinars, you'll know we talk a lot about things that go on below the surface, because the picture we see is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Poor George has probably been out there 5 mornings this week or last week, trying to get this shot, and and I totally sympathise. That 10-minute challenge video with Tilly Lou down at the water, I'm not joking, that was 4 hours to shoot a 10-minute video, because when we got there conditions were perfect. We get the camera out, the tripod, we get everything set up, discuss where we're going to do and what's going to happen, and a little breeze started up and there was ripples, so we had to stop filming and then wait until that had gone, and then just as we started up again, a car pulled up and a dog jumped in there, and then there's ripples everywhere. So when the dog had gone, a breeze had come up and it was starting to ripple more, and that's why those shots had this kind of effect in it. These are the things that you don't see in the background, and when you see the perfect picture, this shot, all amazing, and it's like, why have we got these mirrored boats down either side? I see, it's a reflection. What you haven't seen is possibly a month's work just to get one shot, but a great effort, George. Great effort. Really interesting shot. We got a very interesting one here too from Matt Johnson. I think this is a really good spot. And you've got a great exposure and all the rest of it. You've seen something very interesting, but my thoughts are the shot is actually a little bit closer in. I think if you could have zoomed in a bit, moved a bit closer, longer lens might have helped. Possibly without that little curved bit in the sky, I don't know. I was just playing around with some different ideas. But it's still a really great idea. Well spotted, Matt. We got another really interesting little shot here, and I just kind of wanted to just bring it out and have a talk about it, because this one I actually found really hard to think about. I'm trying to read it. Sorry, I got the wrong glasses again, haven't I? Hervé. I'm just kind of trying to think. I'm looking at the other monitor because it's bigger on that one. It's like, it's such a beautiful, serene scene. We got that lovely reflection, and even though the light is soft, it kind of works, and I do really like it. I think it's because you have got not a breath of wind and the reflection is so perfect in that water. But I'm not sure, it's something to do with the way that piece of land is jutting out, and it's kind of colliding with the bit on the other side. Now, I don't know those surroundings, whether you could kind of move around a bit and possibly capture it. Again, maybe just concentrate on the reflection and leave the tree out of the top. It's a really great idea, well exposed, and I love that light. Even though it's really, really soft, you'd think some side light would work well. I think it works very well with a soft light. But somehow it's not quite capturing it, but a really great idea, Hervé. Really great idea. Beautifully done. And I'm not quite sure what it's missing without actually visiting the location. Maybe an early morning with a bit of sunrise behind it, though that does tend to kill a reflection. Maybe with a light behind you that increases reflections. Tough call. And the reason I am talking about it is because I didn't want to, because I don't know what's missing. And this happens, guys. It happens to all of us. You look at it and think, it's good, but there's something missing. But a great idea, beautifully captured, well spotted. Lovely colours. Cheryl, I really liked this shot here. You're down in South Australia. I'm not sure I rode around a lake like this, and I wonder if it's the one I went to. Can't remember. It's really interesting, but I'm not sure. I just think a lower angled sun possibly could have helped, but also when I look closer at it, it's like it's kind of strange, because it looks to me like the tree on the left is softer than the other two. The whole shot looks a tiny bit soft to me, but the one on the left looks a little bit softer still. I can't help but think a slightly lower angled light might have helped, and maybe a bit more sharpness throughout. But it's great. It's kind of eerie, isn't it? Spooky. Maybe a little more negative space around it would have helped, but nonetheless a very interesting picture. Now here's one that I also thought was pretty interesting. Anne Christian Thompson. It's just really interesting, but it's possibly a little tiny bit too busy. I love the way you've turned the shot upside down, because you really have got a great reflection going on here. Really well spotted. It's kind of a really tricky image, isn't it? And it's difficult to get your head around. For me, I think it's possibly a bit of the subject matter. I don't know. Maybe if there was somebody there, because I'm not quite sure where to look. The red lorries sort of draw my eye, but I feel it needs something. And this is another one, just like Hervé's image. It kind of needs a little bit of something. And I'm purposely giving myself a challenge in talking to you about these, because I'd love to be able to give you a clear answer about what it is it wants. And I'm not quite sure, because your exposure is perfect, your colours are great, it's nice and sharp. I don't know, what do you think, guys? What do you think? I'd love to know your opinion. Just what do you think? Do you think, hey, no, I really like it, I get it, it's kind of this industrial trucking, piece of scenery, or you find it difficult or whatever? And don't take any offence at whatever anyone says, because it's all opinion. And that's all creativity is. Yeah, that's a good one, Glyn. If there could have been a boat on there. I mean, I do love that little bit of grass on the water. And it's so interesting, because it's kind of a reflection. It is an intriguing image, no matter which way you look at it. I like the busy aspect, says Christine. Lots to look at and work out. That is very true. It is an intriguing image. There is no question about that. Jane Barnes is saying, is it a reflection in water or on a window? I'm pretty sure it's water, Jane. I'm pretty sure it's water. If you're here, Anne Kristen, please tell us. But anyway, need to move on. I love reading your comments. Here's another one. I'm talking about quite a lot of ones I rather liked here, aren't I? Because there were so many really interesting images, and I want to talk to you a bit later on. Again, this is another one. I can't really find anything wrong with it, and it's a really interesting shot, and it may be a different place and a different time. It would have been way further up the points. It's just, I felt there were some stronger ones which spoke to me more. It doesn't mean this is a bad shot by a long stretch. I think it's a really simple but very clever and effective shot. What does it make you think of, guys? I'm just interested. What does Stephen's shot make you think of? Just pop a comment in there. What does it remind you of? Does it make you feel anything? Does it make you think anything? Because to me, this is what creative photography is all about. It's how it makes you feel. What emotion does it provoke? It's simple and striking indeed, Sue. Is super creative. James saying maybe a bit of variation in heights. Yeah, that's a good possibility. Lots of skylines coming in. Bob reckons it looks like screws. I'd missed that myself actually, Bob. Sorry mate, couldn't resist that. A torture chamber, interesting. Oxford Spice. Do you see how it means something different to everybody, and it's so important. When you're shooting anything, it's like it doesn't mean that you've got something wrong. It just means it means something different to everybody. Does that make sense? I think I'm waffling. It's probably because my screen here has just gone very fuzzy and I don't know why. I don't know if yours has, guys. Hopefully not. Let's move on to the next one, but you know, great effort, Stephen. Really nice shot. Here's another really great shot. I really liked this one, Neil. Is it Nell or Neil? I'm sorry, I got the wrong glasses, haven't I? It is. It's a really great shot. To me, I don't know whether it needed a slightly faster shutter speed, because there is a tiny little bit of softness, a tiny little bit of sort of blur going on around the edges there. But I do think it's a really beautiful image. You've got beautiful light. You've got that great reflection at the bottom, you know, of the light coming through, if you like, the stalk of the water mushroom. And I think we got the edge of the bowl or something just coming in the bottom right corner, which is kind of a shame, because to me, I think it's kind of losing part of the reflection. I don't know, maybe that slightly slower shutter speed works because there's a bit of movement. It's helping you feel the movement. But to me, it's the bottom bit of reflection. I think that would have been so intriguing. Maybe you needed a larger thing to put the water in to kind of make it rock. But nonetheless, great job, great shot. Really nice. What else have we got going on here? We have got... I get where you're going here, Philomena. That you are going for the human reflective thing, and I really like that, because I love it when people go a little bit off piste and they get a little bit whirly and squirrely. Philomena, it's a really nice idea, but it hasn't quite come together. For me, I'm not sure about the foot coming in on the left hand side. It's kind of a little bit dominant. I know you're trying to give it that reflective, relaxed sort of a feeling. Of somebody sitting there, maybe with a gin and tonic, indeed, salad volcano. But I don't know, I'm just wondering whether something else could have been done. Maybe a lower camera angle. Maybe if we could have got a bit of that bright firelight coming through the glass. I'm not sure if you hit that up with a flash, whether there's a light behind. But I think this has got potential. Maybe, you know, with the drinks, slightly lower angle. I just think it might have helped, particularly if you would have got that warm firelight, maybe coming through in between the glasses. You may have got a little bit more to it, or a hand maybe picking up the glass as opposed to going for the shoe in the corner. But I get where you're going, Philomena. Maybe give it another go, because this is how we learn. This is part of that I was talking about in my Perfect Pictures webinar. It's what goes on below the surface. When you see a picture published somewhere, that's the pinnacle. You don't see all the ones that didn't work. You don't see all the times that it wasn't quite what you'd hope. But I love your concept, Philomena, I really do. Ahmed, my friend, I really like this idea, but I feel it needs more contrast. I love, again, you've gone for the human reflection rather than the physical in a lake reflection. I really like that. But I feel it needs a little bit more contrast. I know you've gone for the dark look, and that's cool. I know I'm always saying to people, I think it needs brightening up a bit. I'm not sure this needs brightening, but maybe it needs brightening a bit. I couldn't help it, could I? But definitely I think a bit more contrast. And I'm just wondering whether it might work if he was looking directly into the camera. I don't know, maybe you've shot different versions of it. This is really interesting, but you've done a great job with the moody, side lighting, just sort of half the side of the face. If you could have got a little bit of light from behind so we couldn't actually see the features, but we had a tiny little bit of rim light outline. And I know I'm being picky here, I know. I think it might have worked a little more, but it's a great moody shot nonetheless. What else have we got here? Here we go. Forgive me. I get so excited talking about the pictures, I forget to do what I'm supposed to do on the screen here to make the thing work. I like this shot a lot, David, and again, you've got that grey, smooth lake. It's a really nice shot. And again, you've got that, very little light. You've shot while the sun is behind a cloud, and that's why the light's very flat. And it is kind of nice, but I can't help but think, what would it have looked like had you managed to hang around a mo just a little bit longer and waited for the light to come out? Because to make reflections really strong, you do need good strong light on your subject matter. So the trees on the island are very dark, they've almost disappeared. There's a tiny little bit of detail in there, but not very much. I can't help thinking, maybe if you'd hung around a little bit longer. If you're there, David, by all means, please pop a comment in it. It's always interesting to hear exactly what was going on. But just maybe, if you got the light coming on it, I think it could have worked. Twig the shadow. I don't think the shot's underexposed, because it's about right for that sky and the decking. I just think it's underlit. There's a difference between underexposed and underlit. Underlit means the scene needed more light on it, because if the exposure had just been increased, I think the highlights in the clouds would have gone. And again, Lorraine Spencer's just saying, I like this without the pier. That's interesting. I like the pier. I like the way it kind of brings you in. I think it's a great composition. Just a tiny little bit underlit, but nonetheless, very nice. Now, this one is just a tiny bit, again, it is just a little tiny bit undercooked. It is dark. It's a very strange shot, and therefore incredibly eye-catching. This goose or swan, I think it's a goose, isn't it? With its head sort of sticking out the water. I get it. I know what you've done. You've reversed it. You've got the ripple around the edge of the goose's body, and I really kind of like it. But you're so underexposed that it's kind of killed the interest. And again, I think hopefully you'll see a difference, because I took the liberty of chucking it into Photoshop. I had real difficulty even brightening it up because it was so underexposed, and of course it's been compressed all to little squiggly bits by Facebook. But again, look at your exposure. Think about your exposure. Now it could be because we got the light coloured goose, we got the water, it's quite bright. It could be the camera underexposed it. It could be you were in a big hurry and you just shot it without thinking or looking. But that is really undercooked. Remember to control your exposure, guys, because it's really hard, I know, particularly when you're starting out. But exposure is a creative tool as well. Look at your exposure. Don't just do what the camera tells you. Don't just take what the camera says as being right, as being right. It doesn't necessarily mean it is. The camera is just taking an average and doing its best it can. But I do like the bird's expression. The other thing is it isn't quite sharp as far as I can see. It looks just an teeny little bit soft around the eyes. But it's a great spot. Well spotted, well seen, interesting light, a very bizarre image. This goose's head coming out of the water. But I do really like it nonetheless. Right, what have we got to do now? Forgive me, I need to stop something which is about to be very annoying. That's better. We got another lovely human reflection here from our friend Age Concern. I get where you're going with this, the reflective nature of the lady sitting on the bench. I quite like the fact that she's in the middle. There's something about that. I know generally speaking people will say, well, you shouldn't put the subject in the middle, but I don't mind it. I also quite like that little bit of light coming through the trees, almost backlighting her. It's just touching her hair, which is helping her stand out from her surroundings. But again, I don't think it's quite sharp. I think maybe the shutter speed was a bit slow. I don't think this is a focusing thing. I think maybe your exposure, your shutter speed wasn't quite fast enough to hold some camera shake. I don't know if this is someone who you know, or whether this was a shot when you were out walking, you know, a bit of street, or shall we say woods photography. But nonetheless, it's a nice idea. My thoughts are maybe with the camera the other way up. If you shot possibly vertically and had this lady smaller in the shot, we got those lovely trees going up in the air. I just can't help but think we might have got more of that feeling of reflection or reflective in the human sense, because by making someone small, it helps them feel kind of, you know, I mean, let's face it, we're very small and very insignificant in the scheme of the planet and the world. And I think maybe if she was just that little bit smaller, a bit more negative space, those trees going up, but we've got that great little bit of catchlight in her hair, it may have just helped and worked a little bit more. But nonetheless, black and white might look cool. Yeah, a couple of people said maybe a black and white would look good. It might do. It might do. But I'm just looking at your comments again. But anyway, Sue was saying, where's the front legs on the bench? I need to go back and have a look. Sorry, guys. Interesting. I didn't even notice that, Sue. Very interesting. It must be, you know, a cantilever bench thing. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, moving on. Great shot. Age concern. Diane, I really like this idea. You know, using a mirror and again using the human, you know, the human being, the person being reflective. I do think it's a nice idea. I'm just a little uncomfortable because I don't know if this is your husband or partner, brother, friend. It's kind of like, I think it's just he's like this. He's just a little too close to the bottom of the mirror. I think maybe if you could have come up a bit, if you could have just raised yourself up a tiny bit, it would have just taken his chin off the bottom of the mirror. Maybe even come in a little closer on the mirror. But it is quite an interesting shot nonetheless. And I like the way you kind of got in position between, I don't know if they're cracks or bits of dirt on the mirror. I'm not sure about the expression, whether the eyes to the left is uncomfortable or not. What do you think, guys? I think it's really interesting. I do like this shot. I feel I'd like to see his chin, not on the bottom. But, you know, pop a few comments in, people, because I always love to know what you think as well. This is really important. You know, we all have our own opinions, and that's why I always encourage you to look at this. Fantastic. Love the expression. Totally right. And Diane, don't think I'm ripping your pitch to bits. I'm really not. I think it's a really great idea. I love the way you've done it. I'm just trying to find ways to help you maybe lift it a little bit. Solid volcano, if you looked at the camera, it would be even cooler. That thought was running through my mind, but I'm not sure. Would it be reflective? I'm almost wondering if he was just staring straight in front. You know, kind of, you know that 1,000-yard stare? You suddenly kind of come out of your own thoughts and realise you're staring at someone and they're on the point of going, what on earth are you looking at? Why are you staring at me? I do wonder about that. But then again, was this a grab shot? We don't know. Diane, was this a grab shot or not? Did you just take it in the street? Did you kind of work for it? Is it a moment? Is it something you set up? Either way, it is an interesting shot. It is an interesting shot. Let's move on and have a look at another. This is a really nice bit of night photography. Really nice bit of light you got going on here, David. It really is. And it's one of the few night shots with, I do like to see a little bit of colour in the sky, a little bit of that blue, even if it's right on the end of the blue. So there's just a little hint of the blue going on in the sky. But nonetheless, it's still a very powerful shot. Does it need anything more? I'm not sure. To me, I just think a little tiny bit of detail in the sky instead of it being totally black, even though I like it as a totally black sky. You've got a great composition. You love the way you've got the street lights, the light on the front of the buildings, the light underneath the awnings. And interestingly, there's hardly anyone about, and yet it kind of looks busy, warm and sociable. You've done a really good job here. I'm sorry it's not further up the list, David, but it isn't. And again, I'm choosing some here because they're making me struggle because I don't know what to say. It's a really great shot. We've got another interesting thing here, which I found really interesting from Marty Hill. I feel like this is a painting. I really do. I kind of feel like it's not a painting. I can see it's not. It's a photograph of a reflection, and I kind of see it on a wall somewhere. You know, it's one of those things. It's. I think it's quite clever because it's reflective and a reflection. And when I say reflective, I don't know about you guys. Please tell me if you agree or disagree. But it's the sort of thing I would find myself staring at for no apparent reason, and I would find myself becoming reflective. Does that make sense? Going into a reflective mood. And I really do think that it's a very creative and simple shot. It's just masked. You don't need to see the whole boat to know that it's boats, and I love things like that. Does it need anything doing? I don't think so, really. I might be being super mega picky and saying perhaps the two masts on the left, it'd be nice to see a bit of the top of them, but I am being picky. And I am choosing more of the shots that I think are stronger this time. But I do think it's a lovely, peaceful. Lawrence Hand just said mesmeric. Great word, Lawrence. Great word. Absolutely. Painterly mesmerizing. It's a thinker, says Bob Krause. I agree. I agree. Great shot. Either way, great shot. I'm going to move my software about because I can't click on the next shot, which is really, really hopeless, isn't it? What have we got here? Yeah, now I kind of like this idea, but I'm sorry, we have a little bit of an exposure issue here again, Dush. It's just that bit too dark. We can see that there is a reflection going on, but the whole thing is just so dark, I can't quite make out what it's about. Be careful, get your head around using your exposure and controlling it. Maybe if you're here, please comment. Did you purposely make it dark? Because I am assuming you know that it would be better a bit brighter. In my opinion, it would. I think if it was just a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter. And any of you guys who are a bit stuck again with manual exposure, I've got a webinar all about this. It's called The Art of Exposure, because exposure is a creative tool as well as an exposure control. You know, do you want your picture dark and moody? Do you want it a little bit brighter and happier? Where do you want it to expose? Not what does the camera want to do, it's what do you want to do? And I know many people say, oh well, you know, yeah, manual exposure, yeah, of course you can shoot in an auto mode. I do it often. But unless you understand what's going on in the camera, you can't exploit it creatively particularly well. I've got an Art of Exposure. It was called How to Get Off Auto, but I thought that was a very dry name, so we renamed it. But please, come and join me on Art of Exposure. Learn how you can use exposure controls creatively, as well as manage your exposure. What else have we got here? We've got another wonderfully reflective thing. I find these really challenging to talk about and give feedback on. I'm pushing myself out my comfort zone with some of these. Olivia, I like this. Again, I like it, but that's me, isn't it? I like pictures with people in, and I'm not sure what it wants. Rather than reflective, the feeling I'm getting out of this one is more sort of sad, unhappy. I don't know. Maybe regret is the feeling I'm getting, and I don't know why. I still love the shot. There's something I'm not quite getting. And I love the way you've incorporated, you know, a mirror, and you're shooting, I don't know if this is self-portrait, but with your shooting over your shoulder. It's very interesting light coming up from below. That's a kind of strange way to light yourself. I wonder actually if that low light isn't helping, because we're getting that shadow from your nose across your eye. And I'm wondering if it's the light that isn't actually detracting a little bit from the expression of either yourself, if it's a selfie. But there is a pain and sadness, exactly, Charles, yeah. I don't know. I am wondering about that light. The light from below coming up. I'm not so sure it works because that's kind of dramatic light. That's kind of stage lighting, as opposed to, I don't know. I think a softer frontal lighting, maybe a side lighting, rather than below. But you know, great idea, Olivia, and I love the way you're thinking and just looking at things slightly differently. So what else have we got here? We have a nice reflection, and on first glance I thought, wow, that is a cracking landscape, Matt. It really is. You've got a great sunset. I love the bridge. I like the reflections going on, even in the puddles alongside, you know, the riverbank, the side. I do think it's very interesting, and that streak of colour through the sky. My only thing is if you look very closely at this, if you're watching this on a desktop or something, this should be being broadcast in HD, so it should be very good quality. Whack it up full screen, because my only thing is, Matt, it looks like it looks a little bit overcooked in the post-processing. There are halos around the edges of things. I don't mind the punchy colours, but it's just, if you look closely, when you're getting close to this, there are lots of halos and bits overlapping. There's sort of bits that are missed and one or two little stripy bits, which is a shame because it's a great shot. I really do like it, and I love the shapes, the triangle you've got with the light in the sky and the reflection, you know, the way they're coming together underneath the bridge. It's all sort of pulling the shot together. Great composition, great moment. And for me, I just think you overdid it a little bit in that post-production. Love the colours, but you've got to be really careful when you're going around the edges of things to make sure it's all nice and neat and tidy. What have we got coming up here? Yeah, another night shot. Mark. Again, I do like this, and I love the way you've got the moon peeping over the top of the cloud. Really like it. But I think you're just a bit underexposed. Now I know the moon would pop out and go even brighter. I get that. But I just think we need a little bit more something in the foreground. We've got a lovely bit of blue sky going on in you know, at just the right moment. I think maybe a little bit more exposure. But if you hung on a moment, I don't know which way the cloud's going. If the cloud was going towards you, so the moon would pop behind the cloud, I think it would have helped. Because the moon is so bright and it's such a small point, it's kind of attracting the viewer straight into that brightest point, and then they're ignoring the scene, which is very, very dark. Now, just my thoughts, if you could have captured the same thing when the moon was behind the cloud, you'd have that gorgeous silver rim light, and it would have lit up the shape of the cloud, and sure, the cloud would have lit up a bit more, and that would have been the place where you go to straight away. But because of the shape, it would have kind of helped you through the picture. And with the moon behind the cloud, you could have increased the exposure a bit, so you could see just a little tiny bit more detail. Doesn't want to be much because this is a night shot after all. It still wants to be dark. And I know I'm being picky because, you know, I'm your coach. If I didn't push you hard, I wouldn't be much of a coach, would I? But nonetheless, it's still great work, as all of you are doing. And I really thought this was pretty cool, Christy. I loved your thinking in this. So it's easy to mistake this and just go, you know, yeah, it's a picture of the moon. What's the reflection angle? But it's a reflection of the sun's light, isn't it? Coming back to Earth. That is how we see the moon. And afterwards, when I read your comment, and so I think you said it is one of your first goes at it or something. And I know you said you used a very, very cheap camera. And that's great because, again, the camera doesn't take the picture, the photographer does. What I really like here, Christy, is your thinking. I love that. It's so creative. Forgive me if I say it's not the most breathtaking shot of the moon, but it's a lovely shot of the moon, and I love the way you thought that through. I really do. It's not quite sharp. It could be because I don't know what you're using. If you've got your lens on full stretch, it could be that. If it's a fairly basic camera, but nonetheless, I don't care. You got a great shot of the moon, perfectly exposed for the moon, because the moon's a tricky thing to expose on a clear full moon like that. but I love your thinking. Guys, think about that. Particularly those of you that struggle with the concept idea of, well, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do? Looking for rules and guides. This is what I mean by creative thinking. Very, very creative to think up, well, hang on a minute, the moon, that's just light reflected from the sun back to Earth, isn't it? It's a great reflection, but of a totally different kind. Loved it. So what else have we got here? Yeah, this is another one which I think could have worked quite well from Rob Cook. Great idea, Rob. And I quite like the shape and the composition. I quite like the way the V of the roof is coming into the water. I quite like the V of the cloud coming down, and we've got all these sort of V triangle-y things going on. I like the trees. I like the little bits of blue coming in the edge. Our problem is, to get a great reflection, and you would have had one, you need sunshine. You do need the sunshine to hit the water to make the light ping back up, and because of that dark water it would have absolutely popped. Now in the next challenge video, which you're going to see after this, that was one of those things where I just got the last shot by the skin of my teeth. I'm not going to say what it was, but the clouds came along, they hid the sun, and that was it. And I was so lucky, otherwise I'd have been stuffed, and I've had to come back next week to try and video it. Maybe you kind of saw this, and in that moment of getting ready, the cloud came along, and the cloud's going in the wrong direction, and it's just going to bury the sun for the next 5 hours of the rest of the day. But it is really great. It's a really nice composition, and if you could get sunlight hitting the building, I think it would really, really wake it up, bring it to life beautifully. It really would. What do we got here? Next one we have got from Renee. You got a really nice composition going on here, Renee. The only thing is, it's like we're not quite sure where to look. You've got those two people in those boats, but they're so far away and so tiny and such a long way off. And believe me, I love having a little tiddly widdly tiny person in a shot. But I think they're just a little too far away and not quite in the perfect place. Not just because they're in the middle. I love breaking the rules, and we're going to think about that in another PLD challenge later. I think they're just a bit too far away. I love the people because they could be the focal point. They're just too far away. If you could have caught it when they were closer, maybe moved a bit. If you had a longer lens, you might not have had one. I have no idea. But yeah, nice thought, nice shot. I like the cloud, I like the water, I like the lines. But I think our kind of subject in there is just a little too small. Debbie Murray. Oh, by the way, I'm just sorry Debbie, I'm just going to be back to you in a tick. Renee, the River Wye. Yeah, my mum used to be on the River Wye. They used to have a stretch of the Wye just above Monmouth a long time ago, where they used to look after the fishermen and all that stuff. And now Debbie, you're down at my old stumping ground, aren't you, where I run beginners workshops in Mudderford. Really like, there's things about this I really like, and there's a couple of things I find slightly annoying. I think it could have been a little bit darker. Bring that exposure down a bit, Debbie, because it would have, if you look at the front of the huts, they're almost just a little bit too bright. The sun's at quite an interesting angle. It's quite sort of high. I'm not sure what time of year you are here, but I think you could have brought the exposure down a bit because the front of the huts are almost too bright. The other thing is the little piece of land in the foreground. I'm not sure whether it helps or not. I'd love to see one where if you'd maybe come to the edge of that little piece of grass and didn't have it in the lower right corner, if you could have gone just beyond it. Another thing is if you get your camera low, if you can get your camera really low to the surface of the water, you might have a really interesting, a slightly more interesting reflection. It can help. Because you'll just bring more of the huts down into the water and it'll increase the size of the reflection. But I still really like it. Yep, Mudderford, it is indeed Mudderford, where I run my one-day beginner workshops. But great shot, and I like the composition, I like the light, I like the simplicity of it. I just think, bring that exposure down a little bit, and it might just have helped. What's the time? Here we go, we're doing all right. Another one I really like. I love the composition where kind of everything is pulling you into the shot, the way the clouds are, and the decisive moment that you used here, David, you know, to capture the water as it's running back off the sand, so it's shiny and it's reflective and all that good stuff. The only thing is it's a little bit overexposed, and it looks like you probably tried to bring those highlights down a bit. To me, the clouds are just a little bit overdone. I don't mind a burnt highlight, really don't, but I do think it could just like bring those clouds down a bit, bring that exposure down a bit. You'd still have a great reflection, but you wouldn't have the clouds sort of completely burnt. And I get it, I guess the light's behind them, but I love the composition, I love the shape, I love the way he waited to get the water running down the sand so you'd get the reflection on it. This is thinking like a photographer. Absolutely cool. Really love it. Hey Debbie Murray, thanks Mike. Yeah, it was about 6:30 p.m. in the evening. I got it. That's the Muddyford shot we were talking about there. It's dramatic indeed, Twig. I totally agree. It is very dramatic. I just think down the exposure just a bit, and I love your use of black and white. I really do. We've got another really interesting night shot here too from Barry. I really like this, Barry. There's things about this I like a lot. I'm talking a lot about ones I like and ones that I'm finding hard, because for weeks and weeks and weeks, you guys, I have been trying to choose the ones where people really need the most help, and this time this is much harder because these are great shots, a bit like my, you know, shortlist shout-outs. And it's difficult because they're so close. Do you know what I mean? These are cliffhangers, they're fingernails, absolutely great. It's a great shot, Barry. I'm not sure, was this a panoramic shot with a really wide angle lens? It could be, I'm not sure. I like the colours. Now, George Baker's saying, why so much pink? I'm not sure whether I've got my delay set on YouTube quite right, because I had a lot of problems trying to get the thing up and running. It's a great shot. Again, I think if we could have had a little bit more colour in that sky, if you could have shot it a little bit earlier, Barry, it might have helped. I like your composition. I like the little bit of land on the left. I like the little bit of tower in the foreground, the greens, the colours, the reflection in the water. It's great. It looks like the distortion is a little tiny bit towards us. George was asking about white balance, George Baker. With shots like this, you can't get a correct, in inverted commas, white balance. It's just not possible, because there are so many different colour sources. You've got green light on the bridge, you've got sort of blue light on the bridge as well, you've got all sorts of different coloured light sources going on all at the same time. To me, that's kind of what makes it quite rich. The pinkiness in the sky, that could easily be... Barry, nice to see you, my friend. Thank you. I was right. It is a pano, 3 shots put together. And I'm guessing it was shot with quite a wide-ish lens because of the way the waterfront's bending towards us. It gives us a bend in the river. Maybe I'm making that up. I do like it a lot. I love the fact it's a pano. Yeah, sorry, white balance. Let's just pop back to that a moment. There are so many different light sources. And I quite like the colour cast, which is in the sky. I just wonder if you could have shot a little bit earlier when there's a little bit more light in the sky, but you know, only right on the edge, because I think if we'd had a hint of blue in that sky as well, it would have absolutely been cracking. But it's a great shot. It's a great shot. Here we got another one which is just so difficult to do a critique of, from Ed Hicks. Now, you've got to give you a high five here, Ed. Because it's like, you know, you were saying, you're on the road, you're in the truck cab, the sleeper cab of your truck, and trying to find the shots and struggling. And you said that for a few weeks, and then suddenly you find one. I get it. I don't know where those droplets of water are, if they're on the windscreen, the side window or something, but I do like the way you've kind of picked up those 2 trucks. Like, almost use the drop of water as a lens. Somehow, how you've focused into the droplet to get those vehicles on the other side sharp. Really well spotted. It's very creative. I think it's really cool. You know, and you've been living in your truck cab for quite a long time. You know, good on you, dude. It takes some doing to look around and spot these things. What does it need? It's a tough one. you know, you're parked up for the night and you're looking around the cab thinking there's got to be a shot here somewhere, and you found one. You found one, and I love that. Is it strong enough to win? Not quite. What I love and why I'm shouting this one out is because you found the shot. You found something. Good on you, man. Just keep going. Where am I going now? I think I've got a little mistake going on here. Am I going along the wrong line of shots? I think I might be. I am. Right, here we go. Let's get over here. Forgive me, guys. It's tricky for me to use the two monitors in here. So I'm kind of having to use one and then slide you all to the side so I can read your comments after each shot. This is a shot I really like, Debbie Lewis. Again, I really like it. I like the subtlety of the reflection. And again, you've let the water go back out, so it's picking up the colour of the sky. I like the position of the sun on the edge of the cloud. Upward, I don't know what the proper word is, light rays, cathedral lighting, all that sort of thing. It is really cool. No question about it. It's not quite a silhouette. There's just a bit of detail in the woodwork. Really, really nicely done. Nicely thought out. I can see from the beach that maybe the tide, maybe the water does come up a little further. Maybe it's moving so slowly, because I think if you could have had a little bit more water on the beach, you'd have picked up more of that colour and reflection. But nonetheless, it's a great shot. It's a great shot. I can't knock it. Maybe a little closer to the water. Maybe if you've gone a tiny bit lower. I mean, sometimes it's only a question of 6 inches lowering the camera. I just went like that, didn't I? I just went 6 inches. I'm a bloke, aren't I? Anyway, never mind. Moving on. Great shot. Perhaps a little closer to the end, perhaps a little bit lower. Maybe if you could have caught a moment when the water wasn't quite so lazy and you had just a little bit more wet sand. But nonetheless, great shot. Angela, I really like this one too, from Angela Gledhill. My first thought is, you've got good light for a reflection, you've got nice colours, you've got a great exposure. I kind of like your composition. I particularly like the little tuft of grass down in the bottom left corner, which is being slightly hidden by some idiot that put an orange hashtag photo lockdown on there. But I think the reflection isn't being made the most of. I can't help wondering, would it be a bit more strong? Would it be a bit stronger, a bit more interesting? If, I don't know, if you could get on that little outcropping of rock that's on the right of the shot that's coming in. If you could have got on there, maybe even if you could have got in the water, roll your trousers up, I don't know, whatever, lift up your skirt, wear your wellies. I just wonder if you could have come to the right a bit more and you could have got a lot more of the reflection, or even possibly just lowering the camera and having it a bit closer to the water. It would have the effect of pulling that arc of the bridge in the reflection down a bit. I'd kind of like to have seen more tree. I like the hills, I like the wall, I love that bridge. Maybe a bit more tree. Maybe if you could have shot it with a slightly wider lens, a little bit close to the water. It's the tree to me that's missing. I'm not sure. George Baker said, is this Middle Earth? Excellent, good question. I don't know. Those are my thoughts anyway. I think maybe a little bit more of the bridge, a little bit more in the water. Now we got a very interesting reflection here too. Steve's Outdoors, I think it says. I like the way you've done this, Steve. I like your thinking. I like your idea. I do like your idea. I think your expressions maybe a little bit. I think it's all just a tiny bit overdone. Forgive me. I love the idea. Very often we can get lost in our idea, and we're so lost in the idea that it doesn't quite work. What do you think, guys? Do you think the clouds are a little bit of a distraction? Personally, I find myself missing you in the reflection and paying more attention to the sky and the clouds. I don't know, I'd love to hear. What do you think, guys? It's a great idea, definitely a cool shot. But I find I'm losing myself into those clouds just a little bit too much. Maybe a different background. Maybe if you could have found a bit of sky which wasn't, with the clouds in it. You are fighting with the background. That's the only thing. But nonetheless, it's a great idea. I'd say work with it. See if you can develop it a little bit more. See if you can find another way of doing it. I like your use of a reflection. I don't think you look, I'm guessing it's you. And I also get the work you've done too, you know, holding that and you're trying to hold the camera and get it all in the right place. And I get it. I know this is all below the surface, isn't it? That's the bit which people don't see, is you struggling to get that shot right. Great thinking. I would say work on that theme, and I think you'll probably come up with something really kind of interesting with it. So now we have come to the official shortlist shout-outs. These are pictures which, well, apart from one which I just had to make sure I put in here, these are pictures which I had to put into my winners folder. I select everything. I probably end up with 20 or more pictures, and I think, right, somehow I've got to get this down to 6. And some I have to sort of move away because I can't give feedback to every single one of you. We just don't have time. You're uploading so many shots, but I will say something about that at the end of this live. So these are my shortlist shout outs, and this is one I really want to give a shout out to, because when I first looked at it I thought, that's kind of intriguing. I quite like the pastel colours. I like that repeating pattern. I reckon it's Photoshop. And if it is Photoshop, it's done very, very well indeed, because it is so accurate. Then when I read it and realised and saw what you'd said, Mike, I don't have Photoshop to play with. And it's a reflection in a glass pendant. That is so cool. That is so cool. What a very different way to look at a reflection, to see a reflection, to think. This is what photography is all about. And I really like the soft pastel colours you've got going on here too. Really do. I think it's a great idea. Here is another that I really kind of like from an artistic point of view. This is such a calm, arty picture where we've got the ripples going on in the water. Is fantastic. This is a very much on the wall reflection. This, to me, I find this to be reflective as well as reflection. I feel reflective when I look at this shot. I think it's a really, really great job. Really well spotted, really well executed, reversed reflection. Look at the little fence posts reflecting in the water at the bottom of the picture. I think you've done that very, very well. Nicely composed, even though it's quite a tight composition. It's just nicely done. And the use of very contrasty black and white, I think is completely gorgeous. Janet, you've done a really great job with that. I love it. And it actually reminds me of one of the very first photos I took, and I was looking to see if I could find it so I could just show you. Look, I did one like that too. Look, Janet, I did one like that too. Great job. Great job. Next on my bit of shortlist shout outs, because this is such a really beautifully lit shot from Sharon. It's a beautifully lit shot. I'm guessing this is a glass chess piece, and you've got the light, you've got, I don't know how you've lit it. Is it, if you're here, Sharon, tell us. It's kind of like you've got this almost like a pencil of light hitting the chest of the knight of this. I don't know what to say. I just really like the light. I like the pool of light that it's sitting in. When you light a translucent object from slightly behind, it absolutely comes to life. I do think it's a cracking shot, Sharon. My only thing is, it feels to me like it's just a little bit, sorry, that way. It just feels like it's leaning over a tiny bit. The base of the knight, maybe it's an optical illusion. I haven't put this one into Photoshop to check. But nonetheless, it's a beautifully lit, very gentle, very moody shot. Yeah, there is definitely light from above, Graham, no question. But it is great. Knight on a chessboard, beautiful light, beautiful light. Very, very well done. We've got another very different kind of a look here as well, coming in from Andrew Oz Smith. I do like this a lot, this reflection, and I just think it's a great shot. We've got just the perfect conditions to capture that reflection. I'm guessing it's reflecting a very bright sky, because I was looking at it now. I think you may have cleaned this up a little bit in post-production. I don't have a problem with that, because to me it still looks completely natural. Maybe you haven't, but it looks so natural. And because of that pure kind of smooth whitey blue background, it's absolutely leading us straight to your subject, the bird, just pecking around in there. It is a very strong, very beautifully done wildlife shot. That's all I can say about it, really. Jane Barnes, this one reminds me of an illustration in Nature Book. Absolutely. Jane Barnes, aren't you down there on the other side of the planet, up at 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that? Thank you for coming, all of you on the other side of the planet. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Can see that hanging on the wall, says George. Totally get it. It's a ring plover, is it? It's a beautifully done shot. It's a really artistically done shot. And if you watch out for the light, for the sky, if you have a slightly overcast sky, but it's still really bright, just the evenness of reflection can make it so mirror-like, such as this. Beautifully done shot. Beautifully done shot. I'm sorry that I didn't keep you in my final 6. Love this one as well, Luca De Nicola. It's just simple and it's different. I just like the combination of shapes. You've shot it at just the right time of day with that red kind of sunsetty light. I love the shapes of these buildings. How is it distorting like that? Maybe the building looks like that. I don't know. But I do like it. I also like the way you've composed it and included that little bit of the windows down on the right hand side of the shot. It's almost like uncomfortable, but I like that. I like things that disrupt the symmetry, that disrupt the feeling. I think it's a really, really nicely done shot. Perfect time of day, either the rising or setting sun. Very, very strong picture, very striking, well spotted and well executed. Now this one here, Denise Warren. Such a clever idea. I do like it. I really do. And I can imagine how much work and effort you put into it. It's just such a strikingly bizarre picture. You know, and I don't know if that's a mirror, a glass top table. I'm not sure what you've used, but I just love the way getting that perfectly lined up to get it in exactly the right place. This just kind of crazy football head man. I just love it. I really do think you did a great job with that. I really do. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. Nice one, Denise. Nice one. I'm sorry that I had to remove you, as I am all of you who are always in my shortlist shout-outs. Love this one here from Colleen. Beautifully done, Colleen. Well spotted. This is being in the right place at the right time at the moment. Now, I don't know if you were waiting and watching for this, but to me this is absolutely beautiful. I'm not really a landscape photographer, but the light in this is gorgeous. And what's the reflection element? Well, you know, look at, we've got that incredible burst of light coming through the clouds, through the water, causing that rainbow, and then as you look back into the cloud, you got that same shape very subtly and softly reflecting back the other way. I really do like it. I think it's a really beautiful image, very calm, very peaceful, yet very, very dramatic. I can't really say. Anyway, George is saying it's not reflection, it's refraction. I'm not going to argue with you, George. It may well be, but the shape is reflecting or refracting back the other way. We are still getting that shape either way, and I just think it is indeed, Sheridan, totally atmospheric. Beautiful job, beautiful job. Let's move on to our next shot here. This is one I loved. This is one I totally loved. Philip Gray, such a great shot. Reflection in so many sense of the word. The reflective look on her face. If you're here, Philip, I'd love to know, is this a street street photography grab shot? You saw a moment and you captured it, or is this, you know, is this someone you know who's in the cafe and you sort of posed and you waited until you got the right moment? Because to me, it's just the right moment. This is a decisive moment, and it's beautifully done. Beautiful light on this lady's face. I love the reflection of the building, what's going on in the street, the reflection of the couple walking past. It is just right on the nail. I'm watching the comments just in case you're here, Philip, because I'd love to know. Was this a grab shot, a piece of pure stuff? Moo says it's Philip's wife. Okay. It may be in the comments. As I say, I tend not to read the comments. I want to just go with the photography alone. Lots of people saying it's his wife. Nonetheless, I don't care. I'm guessing you didn't orchestrate the couple who were walking along the street. Really beautifully done. Great picture. Such a human picture. Such a warm, interesting picture. I love it. Congratulations, guys. I hate having to cull you guys out of that folder because it's just so difficult. Anyway, never mind. We are into our PLD Reflections runners-up. PLD Reflection and Reflections runners-up. And I find this is a really strong picture from Rebecca Williams. I just thought this was really strong. It's really earthy, old school, documentary almost photography. And I totally salute you for your courage, because I did read your comment after I sort of looked at it and thought, yeah. Whether you're talking about what's been going over the last few weeks, you know, with all the problems the world has had and people having to stay in their home, whether you're commenting kind of on the behavior of people on social media, drawing the happy face when they're actually not a happy face, when they feel kind of naked and alone. I don't know what I feel. I'd love you guys to put some of your comments. What do you feel when you look at Rebecca's picture? What does it give you? What emotion does it provoke? Yeah, indeed, Sue. Very personal picture, very personal. Tears of a Clown, says George. Very emotional, says Karen. I'd love to know more. Please give me some of your comments. I think it's a great shot. I think it's really well done. I think it's a brave shot. And also, I think it's quite a powerful shot. I like the way you've composed it as well, giving yourself lots of space above your head. It's kind of unnecessary space, but it works. It really works. Just the shapes in the corner of the bathroom. Raw, powerful. It's a scary photo. It smacks of desperation. Yeah, possibly. Brave, indeed. Emotive, distressed and depressed. Very striking indeed. Yeah, I get it. I think it's a great shot. You are one of our runners up. You obviously got yourself a place on one of the webinars, so we will be in touch. Well, actually, it'll probably be me that's in touch, because Emmeline is on holiday next week. I'm one of those ridiculous employers who lets people go on holiday. I don't know what came over me. She deserves a break. She is totally wonderful, but I have got to do the customer support next week, and I'm dreading it. What a beautiful shot here. So customer support means I will be contacting you to say, congratulations, you're a runner-up, come on a webinar. Ashley Stubbings, very different thing, but a very striking, interesting and different interpretation on reflection. I like the way you've got those rainbow colours reflected in the raindrops, in the water drops. They're such perfect droplets. If you're here, Ashley, I'm interested. Are they water droplets? What is the surface they're on? Is it glycerine gel or something like that? But beautiful shot. I love the shallow depth of field. We really know where to look, because we've got the brightest part of the most boldest colour behind the biggest droplet with the sparkliest sort of bit in the corner. It's a really great shot. It's giving me happiness, fulfillment, that sort of thing. George is asking, is it a DVD? I have no idea what it is, and maybe it is a DVD you've done that on. How did you get those perfect water droplets? Was it a mister spray and you just let them accumulate? Beautifully done, beautifully executed, a picture you can sort of gaze at easily. It's easy to look at and very interesting. Congratulations. So the next runner up here is Mackie Brown. This really caught my eye as someone who loves documentary and street photography. To me, this is real earthy, kind of old school street photography, documentary photography. It's not the easiest picture to look at, but nonetheless I do find it very powerful and exciting and dynamic, and I do kind of gaze at it. Now I'm guessing there's still few people on the streets, there's not so many people out and about, but it's just the way we got this ghostly couple in this reflection. It's outside a, what is it, it's a Subway's, I think. Yeah, I can read it there, with the menu boards reflecting up in the top left and what's going on out in the street. Perfectly done, works in black and white. Love the couple walking through the ghostly, the lines coming through it with the footpath cutting into it. It's taking you on a journey. I find it very intriguing, this picture, and a great bit of documentary photography. Congratulations. A very different image here coming in from Nicole Little, who was Aughty. I really like the way you've done this, Nicole. It's such a clever shot, and it's drawing on so many things we've done over previous weeks. We've got shapes and corners and angles, we've got light and shade, we've got negative space. Really nicely done. I really like this. It's one of those pictures you can just look at the way that just the bit you want us to look at, which is, I'm guessing this is you. You know, your red lipstick on your lips there. I love the way you've used shapes, the way you've got it so regular. We've got squares within squares with a triangle and a diagonal line making another triangle, and the square of the mirror, and you've got the depth of field just right. I really like this picture. I can kind of see it as a poster shot so clearly. If I'm going to give you any constructive criticism at all, and you know, I realise you're going to kick me in the shins if you meet me one day. The only thing is the nostril right in the corner of the mirror. It draws my eye a bit. Maybe I've got a thing about nostrils, who knows? But it just does. It's just the nostril right in the corner of the mirror, and I get it. I can't imagine how many times you did this to try and get it just right and in the right place. Great shot, beautifully done. Congratulations. You are of course invited to come on a webinar, and of course so many of you beautiful people have done my webinars anyway, I don't know, maybe come again anyway, just for the hell of it. Okay, Kim Goucher, I know we see some of you guys quite a bit. You are one Kim, but I just can't miss that. Again, it's a really strong picture. It reminds me of being a kid. You know, my mum used to breed dogs. We had dogs everywhere. And just, what does a dog love doing more than sticking its head out the car window? It's just great. It's such a happy picture. It's a great reflection, and it's a reflection that reminds me of my childhood, and that's why I just had to have this one in here. Well executed, perfectly focused, technically just great. The light's just great. What can I say? Great job, Kim. It's such a happy picture. It's such a happy picture. Congratulations. I look forward to meeting you guys again on a webinar at some point in the near future, I hope. And so, this week's winner of our reflection challenge, I feel, did a really great job in all the different senses of the word reflection. In all its senses, from human to physics and physical. And so my winner this week is Kusami Low. I love this picture. I love this picture. I love how you've composed it. I really think it is a beautiful picture. It is so reflective and calm. It is just wonderful. The light on this face, and I'm guessing it's a young child. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't matter. You've got the most beautiful light. The expression, the pose, the way it is done, that finger on the window, the softness of the expression. We have got such, to me, a reflective feel. Guys, please tell me what you think. What do you feel when you look at this? Pop some comments in there. Please pop some comments in there. What do you feel? What do you see? What do you think? it's very enigmatic. The light is just so beautiful. We've got the light, the brightest part is pretty much hand and face. We go there straight away, and because it's a human face, we're drawn to it immediately. Beautiful light, lovely reflective, pensive expression, beautiful soft reflection, the way the fabric is folding around the arm, the way you composed it, very bravely done by coming so close into the face and making the face so strong by cropping it so hard into the corner. Kusimi, fabulous shot, congratulations, I totally love it. What do we got? What were your feelings? Little girl wondering. Purity, nice one. Yeah, a child playing with her own reflection. The hand is obstructing the face. Interesting comment that. Interesting, Glyn. Yeah, but to me, I don't look at the face in the reflection. I look at the face in the picture. And that to me is where I go, because that's where that beautiful light is. Again, you know, we all have our own ways of looking and interpreting. UT lady said print frame hang. That's a really great expression, and I totally agree. So beautifully done, well done all of you. I'm interested again to kind of know your comments maybe a little, because as we come out into the wide world again and we start looking around, and we've got a lot more choice, haven't we, when it comes to choosing what we want to photograph, where we want to go. And I know that I think it's a lot more difficult to shoot out in the great big wide open world than it is necessarily when we are sort of stuck indoors. Interesting to know your comments. Nonetheless, it has been a real pleasure and a joy to work with you once again. Please don't lose your momentum. As I say, remember, Photography Lockdown has now you've got 10 days for a challenge instead of just under a week. Competitions will be closing on the Sunday night. It's very clear on our website, on the PLD page. It's also going to be clear on the lockdown group page on Facebook. So they're closing on a Sunday. We will be doing this on Thursdays. Don't lose the momentum. You've got more time to do it. You've got more time, but don't lose momentum. Part of me wonders if having that pressure, I've only got a few days to do it, whether that pressure is what really kept you going. So please keep it going. Also, by the way, I just wanted to add on the end, again, thanks to everybody who's been making some donations to keeping this going, but also another way you can help keep this going is by inviting your friends to come and join in. Please don't just invite anyone. Think about who you're inviting, people who would benefit from it, people who will participate and join in and really make this rock. Please keep inviting. Many of you are, I know, I see them coming into the group, and it's fabulous. So the next challenge is going to go out in a moment. This time as well, we are teaming up. We want to try and do a little bit of good back into the world. So we are working with a charity that helps homeless and underprivileged people on this next challenge. This is a double-edged one. It's something which I'm very passionate about, is trying to put a little bit of good back in the world and to help people. So you will see in the next challenge video, which will go out live in about 5 minutes time when we finish this one. But please enter the next one, give it your best shot, work hard. It's a tough challenge, this next one. It's going to really make that creative muscle hurt. You guys who are a little bit stuck with, hang on, does he mean I can shoot this, or does he mean I can shoot that? This is going to be particularly challenging for you, but please don't give up. Don't give up. Stretch your creativity. Think hard about it. Look how amazingly supportive our group is. If you are struggling, I would love to help you on a one-on-one basis. I can't do that with everyone, but look how fabulous everybody in the group is. If you're struggling and can't come up with an idea, I see it very often. Someone goes, I don't know what to do, and lots of people come and support and help you, and that is what really moves, touches, and inspires me about what we've got going on here and why I really want to keep it going. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help, because it will always be given, and that to me is what our group stands for. Helping each other out, making the world a better place, improving our photography, seeing more beauty in the world, and all that amazing stuff. So I am going to sort of start closing this one down now. I think it's time to say goodnight to all you beautiful people. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. I so look forward to seeing what comes in next week, and I wish you well. Love you all lots. Thank you so much for staying with this thing. Let's keep it going. Let's see if we can make it rock, because this is exciting. Good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, according to where you are in the world. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care of yourselves, guys.